The planet Acero, located in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, offered a hellish environment. Temperatures fluctuated between freezing cold and scorching deserts. The atmosphere was too toxic to breathe, and the constant acid rains made survival impossible. Yet, this planet held immense strategic value and was indispensable for the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. Humans were forced to fight for control of Acero, despite being viewed as a newly emerging species in the galaxy. Other races considered them weak and believed it was impossible for them to win this battle. Darius, the commander of the human forces, was determined to find a way to victory. He was a tough, disciplined, and strategic leader, but he knew that on this ruthless planet, the battle would be won not just with intelligence, but with physical endurance as well. "Commander, this planet could be our end," said one of the soldiers beside him, Lyra. Her voice was tired but resolute. Darius looked at Lyra and replied sternly, "We haven't met our end yet. We're human. They called us weak, but we're going to show them how resilient we are." In the first few days on Acero, survival had become a struggle for the human soldiers. Their food supplies were dwindling, and their armor had begun to deteriorate from the acid rains. But under Darius' leadership, the humans used their wits and their bodies' endurance to establish a defensive line. Their enemies, the Gyner Empire, believed that humans wouldn't last long under such conditions and felt secure in their superiority. The Gyner Empire's pressure on humans continued to intensify. The Gynars had withdrawn to their mighty fortresses in the planet's enormous structures, settling in a way that defied Acero's atmosphere and harsh nature. They had grown complacent, thinking that humans wouldn't survive long on this merciless planet. After all, the Gynars were superior beings with their enormous bodies and natural armor. But it didn't take long for them to realize that human resistance was growing stronger. Amid all the hopelessness and hardships, Darius had devised a plan. The foundation of this plan lay in how the human body could adapt to challenges. The soldiers had gradually adjusted to the planet's harsh environment, with their muscles and lungs adapting to Acero's toxic air. Although humans seemed technologically inferior, their natural resilience would turn the tide of this battle. Darius waited for the right moment to strike. It was night, and the Gynars were basking in their arrogance while the humans were hiding among the planet's vast canyons. Lyra gave final instructions to the unit beside her. They were going to raid the enemy fortresses and disable their technological defenses. But this battle would be one of cold steel and close combat. Darius gave his orders in a calm tone, "Everyone stay in position. Once we launch the attack, there's no turning back. No one will stop, no one will retreat. We will either win, or we'll die here." Suddenly, the humans emerged from the shadows, silently advancing toward the Gyner positions in the darkness. Their enemies were massive and heavy, but their speed and agility were limited. The humans took advantage of this, gliding like shadows among the Gyner soldiers. The first wave of the attack was silent, but deadly. Lyra quietly approached a Gyner sentry. She observed a small gap in the creature's metallic armor, then, with a steady hand, plunged her knife into the opening. The Gyner fell to the ground with barely a sound. The soldiers behind her quickly moved the massive corpse aside and began scaling the fortress walls. Once inside the fortress, the battle erupted in full force. The Gynars hadn't expected the humans to attack so boldly or succeed so effectively. One of them tried to shout an alarm, but it was too late. Swords, knives, and bullets flew as both sides fought in a chaotic frenzy. Darius was in the middle of it all. Surrounded by Gyner soldiers closing in, he didn't hesitate for a second. He drew his sword and targeted the leg of the first Gyner to attack. The creature's scream echoed through the fortress walls as Darius followed up with a second blow to its neck, bringing it down. But more were coming. These massive beings were powerful, but Darius, quick-thinking and agile, was able to disrupt their movements. Lyra was fighting on the other side. Two Gyner soldiers attacked her at once, one swinging a giant axe. She swiftly dodged, then plunged her sword into the half-armored soldier's abdomen. She had aimed for a small gap in the armor. As the second soldier charged at her, Lyra dropped to the ground, quickly regaining her footing before leaping onto the creature. She drove her sword into the Gyner's throat as it collapsed. The battlefield was soaked in blood. The humans' agility and resilience were beginning to outmatch the brute strength of the Gynars. But the battle was far from over. As the Gyner forces suffered heavy losses, their fortresses' defense systems activated. Massive laser cannons began targeting the human forces. Darius had anticipated this danger. He immediately commanded his troops, "Retreat. The lasers are online. We need to reposition." The human soldiers swiftly moved to new positions. When the Jynars began firing with their laser cannons, the humans had already relocated. The laser beams lit up the sky, mixing with the acid rain. But the humans had prepared a technological plan to disable the laser cannons from a distance, hiding in tunnels they had dug underground. Lyra approached Darius and asked, "What will we do? The attack is intensifying." Darius responded calmly, "We'll slow them down. They're using their technology against us, but this planet is working in our favor. We'll wait for the acid rains. Then their attack will stop." Sure enough, the acid rains soon began again. The Gyner laser cannons started to malfunction, as the corrosive rain rendered their weapons ineffective. This was the moment the humans had been waiting for. Darius took command once more. "Now, attack." The humans launched one final assault against the remaining Gyner forces. By now, the enemy's defenses had collapsed, and the humans broke through the last lines of resistance, fully capturing the fortress. This victory proved the strength of human resilience on Acero. As the Jynars retreated, they learned the hard way just how powerful and tough humans truly were. Darius stood, hands bloodied but determination unwavering. The scent of victory filled the air. The echoes of victory on the planet Acero had reached the furthest corners of the galaxy. Humanity's triumph in seizing the massive fortresses of the Gyner Empire, once deemed impossible, had become the stuff of legend. But the price of this victory had been steep. Many soldiers had died, and the survivors were wounded. Under the leadership of Darius and Lyra, the remaining human forces were now prepared for one final mission: to capture the last Gyner stronghold on the planet and end the war once and for all. The largest stronghold of the Gyner Empire was perched atop the highest peaks of Acero's mountains. Reaching it was a task that pushed the limits of human endurance. Fierce storms, wind laced with acidic particles, and freezing temperatures tested the resolve of every soldier. But Darius was resolute. As he led his troops, he saw the same determination in their eyes, a willingness to endure anything for victory. Darius stood on the edge of a cliff overlooking the stronghold and turned to his soldiers. "This will be our final battle," he said with unwavering confidence. "Here, we either win or lose. But we are human. We stand against adversity, we accomplish the impossible. Every moment they saw us as weak, we grew stronger. Now, it's time to end this war." Lyra, standing beside him, gave final instructions to the troops. Like Darius, they had felt the weight of the battle, but they had not given up. The enormous metal gates of the stronghold represented the last hope of the Gyner forces inside. As the humans approached, tension grew within them, but they did not hesitate for even a second. At Darius' signal, the humans charged toward the gates. The first explosion shattered the silence of the Gyner stronghold. The explosives placed on the gates detonated, reducing the massive entrance to rubble. The Gyner troops waiting inside sprang into action immediately. As soon as the humans stormed in, they found themselves in a blinding flurry of laser fire and energy shields. But this was what they had prepared for. The battle erupted in an instant, with both sides striking mercilessly. Darius engaged a Gyner soldier in hand-to-hand combat. The massive creature tried to block Darius' sword with its hulking hands. But Darius' agility and human resilience outmatched the brute strength of the Gyner. He plunged his sword into the creature's abdomen and quickly dodged to the side, deflecting an incoming strike before launching himself at another Gyner soldier. Laser blasts cut through the air around him as he moved like a shadow of death among his enemies with every step. On the right flank, Lyra was leading her unit. She narrowly dodged a massive axe swing from a Gyner soldier and swiftly struck at its weak point, targeting the joints in its leg and bringing the creature crashing down. As it writhed on the ground, she delivered a final blow. Then, noticing another group of Gyner soldiers advancing, she shouted to the troops behind her, "Move forward! Stop them!" The humans fought as one, resisting the Gyner attacks from every direction. Amid the chaos of the storming battle, the resilience and speed of the human soldiers gave them the upper hand against the overwhelming force of the Gyner. Within the narrow corridors and vast halls of the stronghold, a deadly dance of combat unfolded. Each swing of a sword, each blast of a laser brought them closer to the end of the war. At last, Darius and Lyra reached the deepest part of the Gyner stronghold, where the Gyner Empire's commander, Zyrax, awaited them. Towering over them in his gleaming armor, Zyrax regarded the humans with disdainful eyes. "You, insignificant humans," he sneered. "Do you think you can defeat me? You will see just how weak you are against the might of the Gyner Empire." Darius gripped his sword tightly and stepped forward. "Your power didn't stop us. We survived the harshest conditions of Acero. Our endurance surpasses your brute strength." With a roar, Zyrax swung his enormous sword, launching a fierce attack. Darius and Lyra moved in unison, countering his strikes. Every swing from Zyrax was filled with immense power and speed, but Darius and Lyra were waiting for his misstep. After deflecting one of Zyrax's attacks, Darius noticed a gap in his armor. Without hesitation, he drove his sword into the opening. Zyrax howled in pain but quickly recovered, launching another ferocious assault. But it was too late. Lyra capitalized on the opening Darius had created, driving her blade deeper into Zyrax's wound, and before the towering commander could recover, she delivered the final blow to his neck. The massive commander collapsed, motionless on the ground, and with him, the last resistance of the Gyner Empire crumbled. The stronghold had been fully captured. The humans knew they had won once again on the planet Acero. But this victory had come at a great cost. Darius surveyed the battlefield, thinking of the comrades they had lost. Lyra stood silently beside him. The taste of victory, though satisfying, was overshadowed by the sorrow of their losses. "There's still much work to be done," Darius said. "This war was just the beginning." Lyra nodded. "But now they know," she replied. "Humans never give up. Acero gave us this victory. Our endurance was their downfall." Under the stormy skies of Acero, as the humans sang songs of triumph, they began to prepare for even greater battles in the future. I hope you had a good time. If you liked my story, do not forget to comment and subscribe to my channel. Goodbye. See you in the next story.